In today's video, I'm going to go over the top 3 cameras that I use to film my deer hunts. This is a question I get asked an awful lot, and that's what cameras I use. And these 3 here are the primary ones that I use when I go out to the deer woods. And I'm going to talk about my main one here. This camera is a fairly new camera, and it's made by Nikon, which is kind of honestly a little bit of a surprise that I use a Nikon camera. Canon and Sony have and Panasonic have really, over the years, have kind of dominated the filming DSLR market. But Nikon came out with this camera. It's called the Z30. It has really good specs. It's super user-friendly, which is important to me when you're in the deer woods. And it's also really lightweight. I'm filming right now on my Sony A7C, which is a beautiful camera. It's like a perfect camera other than it's really heavy. It's a full frame camera. I film on it sometimes, but the weight of it to me isn't real practical for the type of hunting I do. So I tend to always go towards this Nikon Z30 for my main camera. It's sitting on top of a Joby GorillaPod, and it's a really nice tripod for like vlog style deer hunting, because you can kind of turn it into a selfie stick. You can also just turn it into some kind of a little tripod for, you know, getting footage that I'm, you know, checking on trail camera or something. I'll set it up and then, you know, use it as a little tripod. You can also bend the legs around trees and whatnot. So it's a handy little thing. This lens here is a 12 by 28 millimeter lens. It's a super wide lens. When I'm running around just vlogging with this camera, I keep it set on 1080p resolution, and then when I get in the stand to film deer hunts, I switch it over to 4K just so I can have that crop in factor when I'm editing. These are some pretty technical terms. The reason I prefer a DSLR like this, or an SLR, mirrorless camera, over a camcorder. Camcorders are slightly easier to use. I would probably suggest, if you're new to running a camera to deer hunting, you may want to go with the camcorder. But the problem with camcorders is the biggest one you can get that's practical for deer hunting has a 1-inch sensor, and essentially the sensor is it's how much light can be let into these cameras. A camcorder will have, like, at best, a 1-inch sensor, and typically, even with a 1-inch sensor on a camcorder, those last few minutes of legal light, the camera is going to be black. I had a deer hunt a couple years ago where I shot a deer with a longbow. I had 15 minutes of light left legally to shoot that deer when I shot it. It looks like it's after dark when I shot the thing, because I was shooting it on a little bitty camcorder, not great in low light. This camera has a micro 4/3 sensor. It does beautiful in low light up till to shooting light. The camera I'm filming this video on is a full frame camera. It does even better in low light. This camera is $700. That camera is $2,000. So I tend to gravitate towards this when I'm deer hunting. They also make a really good lens I'm thinking about getting for this camera. It's like a 24 to 105 millimeter. That would be a really good lens to run on this camera, and you would get a little more zoom, a little more narrow field of view to zoom in on deer. So that's maybe a lens I buy in the future. And then I just run a shotgun mic. There's a lot of good shotgun mics out there. Rode makes some good one. This one is made by Deity, I think is how you pronounce it. It has a little knob on the back of the microphone where you can adjust the volume, which is kind of cool. Only thing I don't like about that is sometimes that gets bumped and it gets turned down, which is a little bit annoying. So that's my setup. Essentially what I do is I walk in with it set up like this. When I get to my stand, I'll take it off this little tripod here, this little Joby GorillaPod. I'll throw this, either I'll leave it at the bottom of the tree and cover it up with leaves or something, or I'll put it in my pack, and then this will go on top of my my camera arm that I use in the stand. So that's my main camera. This little camera is a lifesaver for a deer hunter. This is a 360 cam made by Insta360. This one's called the X3. It shoots really good 4K video. I got this little backpack clip on it. All I do is on my gear clip on my saddle gear hangers, I just clip this on the gear clip. I put this facing down to me, and this camera shoots 4K video in a complete circle. So if I can't get the deer on, you know, my big camera, I flip this on. I always turn this on. I have a little bit of B-roll footage of me pulling back and whatnot. Also with the 4K resolution when you're bow hunting, I can actually zoom in on the deer off this camera and get the shot on film. So these are my two favorite cameras probably that I would, if I had to choose which two to bring with me, it'd be these two. But this third one is extremely important, and I think this is a very good tool. This is a GoPro Hero 11 that I have mounted on my bow, and this mount is a TX5 by Bowfinger. I've had it for quite a few years now. It works pretty good. And then on my GoPro Hero 11, I have a media mod that does pretty good in audio wise. A GoPro without this media mod, audio is not great, whereas this has good audio. So I can actually, do an interview with this little camera, and it looks pretty good, and the audio sounds pretty good. And that's how I set it up. I have a bow, I have a camera on my bow. I use my GoPro Hero 11. I had the 10, don't like the 10. The 10 caused me all kinds of problems. I still have it, but if you're gonna get one, I would go ahead and get the 11. They have the 12 now. You may get that one. I don't know much about that one. The Insta360, that's my kind of my first backup. And then obviously, if at all possible, I try to get them on this camera. So those are the three cameras I take with me every time I go into the stand to deer hunt. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a question I got asked an awful lot. That's what I use. See you guys on the next video.